Welcome back to another episode of Talks with Tasha. I am Natasha. It's been a fat minute, and it really, really has been a fat minute. Life just gets the better of me, and it's really hard to balance everything. So I apologize. I'm a human being, and I'm trying to get better. So here we are. Season 2, Episode 3. Welcome back. Today is all about the big B. And what do I mean by that? Boundaries. Today is going to be all about boundaries, and quite honestly, it's one of my favorite topics, one of my favorite things to talk about, one of my favorite things to preach about, because without boundaries, I would not be the boss as B that I would be, honestly, because one, I had no idea what they even were. I was like, what is a boundary? What does that even mean, right? I thought it was a line that you draw on the sand or whatever, but quite literally, figuratively, metaphorically, whatever you want to call it, it really is drawing a line in the sand in all aspects of your life. And it's so crazy because when I got taught boundaries, I was scared shitless. I'm not even going to lie to you. I was wondering how on earth I would ever keep up with something like that, and how people would respect me, not like me, not understand me. There's so many different types of boundaries to have in your life, work life, personal life, relationships. One is time boundaries, emotional boundaries, material boundaries, intellectual boundaries. That's all mind and conversations and all of that, right? And personal boundaries, relationship boundaries. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. But nonetheless, the boundaries in general is just so important because it protects you, it protects your peace, it protects the people around you, and you would be surprised at how well having boundaries and sticking to them and being strict about them can really, really benefit you, most importantly, but also the people around you. I mean, there were times and there were people in my life that I let walk all over me, talk down to me, belittle me, because I thought that was okay. It comes to a point as you get older, it's like, pause. You're not going to speak to me that way, and if you are, we can just have this discussion another time. We can have this conversation another time, because I will not be talked to like this, or I will not be treated like this. And that's just a boundary. I know for myself, it sounds so silly, but I am a coffee addict, and as she's right here, I am addicted to coffee. And a boundary that I have with myself is, Natasha, when you wake up, the first thing you're not going to have is coffee. With myself, I have that boundary. I wake up, drink my water, I possibly have a meal, and then I can treat myself to coffee. Or if I know I haven't had water, if I know I haven't ate, I will not allow myself to have coffee. I hope my dad is okay with me using this. Sorry, Dad, if you're not. But we've had communication issues. We are really bad at communicating. I mean, all around. I think we all are. It takes learning and progressing to understand how to communicate properly and not lash out at one another. But I have had to learn how to not necessarily stand up for myself, but say, hey, I don't want to be talked down like this. I don't want to be talked to like this. Let's take a step back. I'm not going to talk to you if this is how you're going to talk to me. Okay? Bye. For me, I hate being yelled at. I don't know what it is. It's like a trigger for me. I don't know if as a child I got yelled at a lot. I really don't know, but I hate being yelled at. So when anybody is yelling at me, I mean, whether it was a coach, a teacher, my parents, my friends, I was like, I would legit go into panic mode, and I would get so dizzy in that moment, and I was like, oh my God, what's happening right now? And I just would black out. I would full blown black out. So my dad thought he was joking, but I didn't know he was joking, and he was yelling at me, and I just was like, gotta go, bye. And instead of sitting there saying, hey, I'm not going to be talked to like that, I just continued to ignore him and not vocalize and communicate, yo, do not talk to me like that, or we will not have a conversation. Granted, it was miscommunication because he thought he was joking. I didn't think he was joking, and that is a trigger for me. I still didn't vocalize that and I didn't set that boundary. I just continued to ignore him, which in the end made matters worse. So when we did get to talk, I said, hey, I do not like being yelled at. I don't like being this, and I don't like talking when we're both really irritated or whatever. I think it's so important to have that boundary because not only protects yourself, but it protects the people around you, like I said. Something my therapist told me, a boundary is not meant to keep the people out of your life. It's to keep them in your life. And I think that's so important because people don't realize that, especially when you're on the outside looking in. So when I tell people about my boundaries, they're like, girl, bye. Like, you sound crazy or whatever or what, blah, 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 haha. They just, they don't understand it. And a lot of the times, people that don't understand it or don't want to respect it don't deserve to be in your life, quite frankly, because you're trying to protect yourself. You're trying to protect your peace. And if they can't respect that, bye. I had just seen this quote that said, what is a boundary? And it kind of goes through like I don't know what you call it, but it's like a B is for O is for U is for whatever. What is a boundary? Be aware of what is unacceptable and normalize saying no. Do what is best for you and know that it's not your responsibility to sacrifice yourself for others. Keeping a boundary is not just meant to kick people out or hurt anybody's feelings for the matter. It's to be able to respect yourself enough to say, hey, you won't treat me this way. You won't abuse me. You won't whatever the case may be, right? And if they show you they can't respect it, they don't like it, then too bad, so sad. Bye. You probably don't need them in your life because, again, you want to protect yourself and your peace and be mindful of how not only they're treating you, but how you're treating yourself as well. What does that say about you when you let people treat you a certain way that you don't particularly enjoy? You want to treat yourself the same way you want others to treat you, and you want to treat others the same way you want to be treated. I'm going to go through some boundaries and kind of go into depth into every single boundary. So for me, a lot of the times when I have things going on or people are inviting me somewhere and I want to go, but I have to do this and I have to do that, or I don't necessarily want to go, but I do because of FOMO, I just think a time boundary. An example, I would love to come, but I can only stay for an hour. It's not necessarily saying no, and you're not being disrespectful by any means, but you are saying, hey, I've got something to do, or I don't necessarily want to be doing this all day long, so I'll give you X, Y, and Z. Easy. Intellectual boundaries. That one's a really important one because as I've grown and as social media and the world progresses and becomes this crazy, insane world that I did not grow up being a part of, it's so important to have your own opinions, but also respecting others. An example of an intellectual boundary. I really respect your view, but I feel differently. A lot of the times, sometimes I tend to feel very, very passionate about a subject or a topic, and I will get heated or that other person will get heated. So one way to do it is this conversation tends to get pretty heated. Let's talk about this another time. You don't ever want to feel like you can't voice your opinion. I think everyone has a voice for a reason and they're allowed to feel how they want to feel. You shouldn't make anybody feel any type of way because you don't feel the same way. So I think it's really important to say, hey, I respect your view, but I don't see it that way because of so and so and so and so. I have these conversations. I bring up my dad every time, but if you're Hispanic and you're the first generation, you just know, and you're the first daughter, babe, you know. But we have these conversations all the time, and he always voices his opinion, and I always voice mine, and of course, mine is always different, and that's okay. I think if y'all were to have the same opinion, it'd be like the most boring conversation ever, at least sometimes. So it's so important to say, hey, I don't see it that way, but you're going to feel that way, and that's totally fine. Being mindful and respectful is important, not only for your sake, but for the other person's sake as well, because you want them to be able to be comfortable enough to voice what they feel and talk about what they feel. And that leads me into relationships and friendships. Same way, you want to respect the person you are with. You want to respect the friendships that you have and boundaries. And when I was going through therapy and I had no idea what a boundary was, I was just doing everything and anything to please all of my friends, my partners in relationships, and never taking the time to be like, is that what I wanted to do? Is this fulfilling me in any way? And I was just kind of doing it to go with the flow. And, again, I didn't have a boundary for myself, for my relationships, for my friendships. And I think it's so important because I lost myself in every friendship, in every relationship, and now I'm my own person, and I can sit here and say, no, hey, I don't want to do that. I'm tired. As long as they are your friends, they're going to respect that, whether they like it or not, or whether they do, I think it's so important to have boundaries because you don't ever want to lose yourself. You don't ever want to disrespect yourself. And you don't ever want to be unkind to yourself, especially yourself. I think when it came down to learning what those were and how to maintain those boundaries, girl, I did a whole 180. I was a completely different person. I now stand up for myself more. I stand up for what I believe in, for what I stand for what I care about or what I don't care about. And I feel like unstoppable. I feel like no one can tell me different and stop me from being who I want to be. Never forget to take care of yourself first before anybody or anything. I think it's so important to value yourself, honor yourself. Honoring yourself is so important. And sticking to these boundaries and maintaining them. In my experience, when I did keep those boundaries, I had such a better relationship with myself, with my partners, with my friendships, with my family. I encourage you to learn more about boundaries. I know there are some really great books out there. I can't even think of the name right now, but I will try to post it if I can. I hope that you learned a little bit about boundaries. I hope that maybe you feel encouraged to take more time out of your day to be more mindful and kind of self-reflect on your life, and maybe you could use a boundary for yourself or for a boyfriend or for a friend, even for your parents. I know for me, that's where it started. Boundaries legitimately started with my parents, and learning that through therapy has completely changed my life in the best way. I don't think I'd be where I am today with my family, my friends, and my relationships that literally don't exist right now if it weren't for boundaries and if it wasn't for my therapist teaching me what that was like and what boundaries are meant for. And I hope that I shed some light to what that all means. I know it can be very scary. Even to this day, I'm still like, oh, do I have to keep that boundary? And in the end, I don't ever regret it, because as hard as it is to maintain it and to remember to maintain it, it's like in the end, I never regret it, and I always feel better for it. And I am better for it because it's there to help you, and it's there to maintain your relationships and your friendships and all around your general life spectrum, whatever you want to call it. I really hope you enjoyed this video. I'm so sorry for going absolute ghost mode. Life is really only about to get busier because I'm starting school kind of full time, but we're gonna get it, okay? We're gonna get it down. We're gonna figure this thing called life together out. And yeah, I really hope y'all enjoyed. I'm trying not to make this a long video, but we'll see where my big mouth gets us. I hope y'all enjoyed. Like, share, subscribe, and if you know a friend that needs to learn a little bit about boundaries, share this video with them, or even teach them a few things that you may have learned from my videos. So thank y'all so much for tuning in and for coming back and for staying loyal. I hope to see y'all again very soon. ASAP Rocky soon, okay? Bye.